Hi Laura, I think this is like the fourth time I've tried to do this video today, all user error on my part. So here we go again. This is my assignment 3 of observation, and this week I did social skills. This was an interesting time. This is an observation of a close family friend of ours that actually spent the weekend with us. He's a 5-year-old boy. His name is Henry, and he has high-functioning autism. So I counted it as 6 hours on my observation log. We're actually with him more than 24, but I didn't want to count times that I was actually just participating in like family activities. So those are the times that I kind of really sat down and watched what they were doing, and which was a lot of sitting and watching kids when you're out in the country and they're playing. So there's just kind of a lot of observation / supervision time. So he is not a relative, so I think he still fits within our guidelines. Let me know if he doesn't, and I'll do something different. So I want to kind of hit some of the higher points. I have some more details in my observation notes, but don't want to spend 15 minutes on a video with you. / I don't think you want me to. But some of the activities that I noticed differences in. For one thing, Henry doesn't have much sense of personal space. And so as my boys were trying to get dressed in the morning, he would just stand in the doorway and had to be reminded several times to move. He also has a very limited palate. I don't know that that's really a social skills issue, but can sometimes be a problem when, friends are getting together or birthday parties or anything like that. It's hard for him to try other foods, and then he gets hungry, and then he gets cranky because he's hungry, and so he's constantly just wanting like chips or things like that, and it can be problematic at this age because my kids aren't getting to eat chips all day. But that was not a big a social thing at all because my kids are around him a lot and even really worked with him to encourage him, kind of that social skills group model where he's got some peer coaches going on. So the first kind of hiccup we had was he and then my son, who's also 5, Darian, were playing with Legos, and the adults were kind of sitting as I was kind of taking notes and chatting with my friend, and this time usually usually if his mom, obviously if his parents are there, they're the ones that intervene when there's a social problem, but particularly because my son's involved as well, usually I would intervene, and this time I tried to stay out of it as much as possible. But when the Lego incident happened, my son just got tired of playing Legos. He's way more into like imaginative play, and that's not something that Henry's very good at. Henry really likes to put Legos together. And so after like 30 minutes of putting Legos together, my 5-year-old son was like, I'm done with this. I'm going to go play something else. And that really hurt Henry's feelings. And again, I don't know that that's just so out of the norm for a 5-year-old. But I do think his reaction was kind of out of the norm. He started like bawling, kind of weeping, crying, not tantruming, just sad crying, and really kind of whining and shut down of an ability to solve any problem. He did not accept just like playing his own Legos while Darian did something else or anything like that. That wasn't a solution. So that was a bit of a problem. They were easily redirected, and this is kind of where age played a real benefit to us. The dad came in and said, hey, let's go for a ride on the gator, and both kids forgot that there was ever a problem. His mom would try to kind of do some problem-solving skills, but he wasn't able to come up with any solutions on his own, whereas my son was able to say, why don't we just play different things for a little while? Oops. Shoot, my battery's dying. Hopefully my battery won't die. That would be par for the course for this video today. So during 2 of the meals, both breakfast and lunch, were kind of open-ended. So he was able to kind of chill and do whatever. But dinner was kind of another more formal social setting where my parents were there as well. We didn't spend a lot of time with them during the day. but this was out in the country, and so we have a small house, and then my parents have a house about 200 yards away. Um, and it was my great grandparents' house. It's not like I have this extra fancy property. Anyway, neither here nor there. We had walked over to my parents' house to sit down and eat kind of a formal meal. Um, Overall, Henry's social skills were really, really adequate for this. He was able to sit and engage in conversation. This kind of was another time that his limited palate got in the way, but not really of his social interaction. He does have really good verbal skills and typically even really good verbal processing skills. He's really able to participate in conversations reasonably well. Again, for a 5-year-old, he prefers to talk about subjects of his choice, things that we might see with kids on the autism spectrum. But so does every 5-year-old I know. So I think on the whole that's going really well for him. Again, another kind of social problem that that he's a social challenge that he's having is that he really has no sense of personal space. So there was another time that there was conflict with my son when he was standing over his shoulder to watch his iPad, and he was just too close. Even, they'd been playing all day, they were really tired. And so taking redirection to kind of move back or move away or not be leaning on people is really challenging for him. And then, even through the meal at this more formal social setting, he did have to have several reminders to stay in his own space. He was sitting between my husband and my dad, and so they're both dads, and so they didn't, it wasn't a problem, but definitely something that, I asked his mom about and they're working on in school and will be kind of a thing to keep an eye on. He starts kindergarten this upcoming year, so, even your typical 5-year-old kindergartners don't actually want somebody leaning on them while they eat. So that'll be a challenge with him. But really, verbal choices work really well for him. Redirection works really well for him. And he is receiving very direct social skills instruction in a private group once a week. And that's been really beneficial because not only in that setting, it's not an ABA setting, it is I don't actually know what the arrangement of the group is. It's a local psychologist that does it. But I know that after each time they debrief with the parents and are able to say, these were the challenges, this is how we addressed them. So that's been really helpful for him to maintain that consistency. And because verbal interaction is so big for him, a lot of times just taking him aside and giving him those choices verbally. And they've really been working on naming emotions, that kind of thing, so that he's able to identify those things for himself. I do think that some of his emotional reactions would be mitigated with a greater structure. There are almost so many choices during the day that, that problem-solving expectation was probably a little high for all the kids. But again, this was with very close family friends. So I think you'll see a few more notes a few more ideas in my notes. But it was a really great experience, and I really enjoyed this class and these assignments. So I'll see you again next week, and thanks a lot. Bye.